The millionaire, Sheikh, tested the waitress in Arabic. Her shocking reply stunned everyone. Early that morning, Dubai's golden sunlight spilled across the dusty streets of a quiet neighborhood miles away from the skyscrapers and steel giants of the financial district. Here, the air smelled like fresh coffee, mixed with the faintest hint of jasmine and old wood. The paper cups rattled softly behind the counter in a cramped little cafe where life moved slower, away from the business deals and glossy suits. Amir Hassan walked in. Not the Amir everyone knew, the powerful, untouchable billionaire whose name lit up every newspaper headline. Today, he wore plain clothes, a simple white shirt tucked into faded jeans, no watch flashing diamonds, no entourage hovering nearby. Just a man blending into the hum of a modest crowd. The velvet mask of riches dropped for a moment, and curiosity drew him to this small, ordinary place. Emma, the waitress, adjusted her apron and wiped her hands on a faded towel. Her eyes held tired strength, the kind forged by sleepless nights caring for her sick mother and days spent fighting exhaustion and invisible battles. She smiled politely, but wore no illusions about the world beyond her neighborhood. Amir slid onto a rickety chair, watching her closely. Then, in a low, deliberate voice, he spoke in Arabic, smooth and rich, his mother tongue, but with a twist that pierced the quiet air. His words were not simple greetings, but layered questions, subtle tests, woven with sharp undertones. He wanted to see beneath Emma's calm surface, unravel the real woman behind polite smiles and routine gestures. Emma paused, her fingers tightening around the cup she had just filled. The cafe seemed to still. Only the distant clatter of a spoon against a plate broke the silence. When she answered, her voice was steady, but it hit Amir like a silent splash of cold water. Her reply wasn't what he expected. It sparked tension, as if she brushed aside his invisible challenges and threw back her own, fearless, raw, fearless, like fire catching dry grass. Hidden from the world's eyes, an electric charge crackled between the secretive tycoon and the unyielding server. Shadows of old secrets flickered at the edges of their short exchange, whispers of pain and pride neither dared voice aloud. Their conversation cut deeper than superficial words. It tugged at Amir's chest, stirred something buried under cold steel, and guarded smiles. Around them murmurs started to rise, curious glances, restrained gasps from those who noticed. "Did he just speak Arabic here?" whispered one man, eyes wide. Another shook his head, uneasy. What was this stranger doing, testing a waitress with the language of ancient honor and harsh truths? The invisible tension thickened the air, the kind you can almost taste. Inside Amir, something cracked, a crack he hadn't known existed. The quiet power he carried suddenly felt fragile. Emma's strength wasn't just in her survival, but in how she met his challenge without bowing or breaking. Honor, vulnerability, dignity. They seemed suddenly tangled, elusive. Could trust bloom here in this brief, electric moment? Without all the masks? And then silence fell again. A stunned pause that echoed louder than any words. Both held their breath, caught in a fragile balance, waiting for what would come next. What secret flicker would ignite? What hidden truth would surface? The story was just beginning. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Silence hung thick between Amir and Emma. The weight of unspoken words filled the cafe. Customers glanced over, eyes darting. What was happening? Should they intervene? But no one moved. the tension wrapped around them like a tight coil, waiting to snap. Then, the sudden crash of a chair hitting the floor shattered the stillness. A man burst through the cafe door, breathless and wide-eyed. His shirt was torn and dirt streaked across his face. He pointed toward Amir, voice trembling. "There you are. We've been looking everywhere for you." People shifted. Whispers skittered like leaves in the wind. Amir's brows knitted together. He recognized the urgency in the newcomer's voice. It was Ahmed, his assistant. But what was with the panic? "Ahmed," Amir exclaimed, confusion flooding his tone. "What's going on?" Before Ahmed could answer, he took a step closer, eyes darting to Emma, then back to Amir. "You need to come now. It's about your father." The room shifted. Emma's breath caught. Something flickered in Amir's eyes, fear or anger. It was hard to tell. The air crackled again, like a live wire, gritted teeth and clenched fists. The emotions burned bright. "What happened?" Amir demanded, his voice barely contained. "Please, it's bad. He's been taken," Ahmed stammered. "By the Syndicate." A murmur rippled through the cafe. Shock painted on faces. Fingers gripping mugs tighter. The Syndicate, a name that cut deeper than any knife. A shadow that loomed over Amir's world. The powerful underbelly of the city, ruthless and dangerous. "Taken?" Amir's voice quivered, a mix of anger and disbelief. "And they want something in return," Ahmed added, leaning closer, desperation creeping into his gaze. Emma's heart raced. She didn't know Amir was tied to such darkness. Could this man with shadows in his past be the same as the one sitting before her just moments ago? She hadn't realized the weight of his name. "What do they want?" Amir pressed, throat tight. "To see you. They think you can negotiate. They think you." A sharp gasp escaped Emma's lips, fear threading through the air. She met Amir's eyes, blue like the ocean, but now stormy, unsure. The world she thought she knew shifted beneath her feet. This man, this quiet billionaire, was tangled with forces far beyond her understanding. And then it hit her. The stories her mother had whispered about a wealthy family, rumors of betrayal, heartbreak, a legacy of darkness. Was Amir entangled in that life? Emma's hands trembled against the ceramic cup. How did she fit into this? "Tell them I'm not coming," Amir said, a fierce defiance rising in him. Strong and unyielding, yes, but the flicker of uncertainty remained. "I can't be part of this." Ahmed shook his head, fear flooding his features. "It's not just your father, Amir. It's about you too. They know about her." Emma felt a jolt run through her. "What about me?" The words hung heavily in the air. Tension fractured the moment. Eyes narrowed. Whispers erupted. The sudden focus turned toward her, and she felt exposed, raw. Amir's jaw tightened, a silent promise. This was beyond what they had faced moments earlier. A cruel fate crashing upon them, dark tendrils reaching out. What truth would be unveiled? What lines would be crossed? In that heartbeat of chaos, both their worlds began to spiral, leaving only one lingering question in the air. What would happen next? Emma's heart pounded against her ribcage. The sudden focus on her felt like a spotlight, blinding and heavy. She glanced at Amir, who looked at her with a mix of concern and urgency. The air was electric, charged with an intensity that made her skin prickle. "What about me?" she repeated, staring at Ahmed, who looked equally terrified. "It's not just your father. It's about you too," he stammered, panic rising in his voice. "They know about her." Her mind raced, questions swirling in the chaos. What could they possibly know? The world she believed she had just glimpsed began to unravel, thread by thread. Outside, the midday sun blazed hot, but inside the cafe, it felt cold and dark. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Faces turned, eyes wide with curiosity and fear. The front door swung open again, and everyone froze. A figure stepped into the cafe, silhouetted against the sunlight. A tall woman, dressed in a sleek black coat. The air shifted, thickening as she stepped forward, pushing aside the patrons like they were mere shadows. Emma squinted, trying to catch a glimpse of her face. "Amir," the woman spoke, her voice sharp and commanding. "We need to talk." His expression twisted from confusion to recognition, and finally to dread. "Yasmin, what are you doing here?" Emma's heart dropped. The name echoed with a sinister weight. Yasmin, the last person she wanted to see. Rumors of her cold ruthlessness filled the air of the city. The one who had never backed down from a fight. A powerful figure tied to the Syndicate. "This isn't a place for small talk," Yasmin snapped. Her gaze flicked to Emma, a fleeting smirk on her lips. "Especially not with her." "What do you mean, her?" Amir's voice cracked, anger coursing through him. A hush fell over the cafe. Customers held their breath, eyes darting between the two powerful figures. Yasmin leaned closer, and for the first time, Emma felt ice creep into her veins. "You know she's not just a waitress. She's been watching you, listening. You think she's inconsequential?" "What are you talking about?" Amir's voice lowered, but fury simmered beneath. In that moment, Emma felt everything shatter, like glass crashing to the ground. "What do you mean I'm not just a waitress?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "I just work here." Yasmin laughed, a cold ring that sent chills through the air. "The Syndicate has their eyes everywhere. You didn't think the girl from the humble cafe could be just that, did you?" She grinned, malicious and sharp. "You're part of a larger game, my dear." Emma's mind whirled. "What game?" Yasmin's gaze turned icy as she straightened. "You'll find out soon enough, trust me." She stepped back, her presence still looming, casting a shadow over the cafe. Amir's fists clenched, his body taut with tension. "Get out, just leave us alone." "Ah, but how can I? Your life depends on knowing the truth," Yasmin mocked, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "You're not the only one who has a legacy here, Amir. You're not the only one who has secrets." A gasp echoed. The whispers picked up, nervous, anxious. The weight of her words hung like a storm cloud. Emma felt the walls closing in. She had no idea what Yasmin meant, but panic roared through her. The truth felt like a hidden beast waiting to strike. "What secrets?" Amir asked. Voice stiff, but the tremor of fear leaked through. As if on cue, a sudden crash of glass shattered the tension. Outside, a bright blue car veered off the road, slamming into a lamppost. The sound ripped through the cafe, jolting everyone into action. The panic erupted into chaos. People screamed, stumbling back. Amir turned, shock etched across his face as Emma's gaze flickered to the window, heart racing. Something was happening, something much bigger than them. "Let's go!" Ahmed shouted, pulling at Amir, but Emma stood frozen, fear coursing through her. What truth lay hidden in those chaotic moments? What reality did Yasmin know that could change everything? Questions lingered like smoke, thick and suffocating, swirling around her. What was she getting caught up in? All she knew for sure was that life as she knew it would never be the same again. Emma's heart hammered in her chest as chaos erupted around her. The cafe, once a haven of warmth and normalcy, transformed into a frenzy of alarm. People moved, some diving to the ground, others rushing for the exits, faces painted with shock and confusion. Every sound felt amplified, the clink of glass, frantic murmurs, the thud of footsteps. And then, the sunlight caught the edge of something. Emma's eyes widened. A man stumbled into the cafe, clothes torn and face bruised, panic etched in his gaze. He skidded to a halt, breathless, and locked eyes with Amir. "Amir, you have to listen. She's coming," he gasped, voice trembling with urgency. A cold wave washed over Emma. Who was coming? The questions raced through her mind like wildfire, each one igniting fears she didn't want to confront. "Who?" Amir demanded, fists still clenched, but concern crept into his tone. "Who's coming?" The man's mouth worked, but no sound came out. He glanced at Emma, the eyes wide, and she felt a shiver run down her spine. Whatever threat was looming had just taken a darker turn. She caught a glimpse of Yasmin's icy smirk, a predator savoring the chaos. Suddenly, the front door burst open again. A woman stepped in, hair a wild halo, eyes blazing like flames. Her presence was electrifying, filled with raw power and authority. She was strikingly familiar, and Emma's breath caught. "Esther," Amir breathed. Emma's heart sank. Esther, Amir's estranged sister, the black sheep of the family, rumored to have vanished into the shadows. The stories about her were legion, tales of rebellion against their father's empire. But seeing her now, here, in a place where shadows danced around the truth, changed everything. Esther's gaze swept the room, igniting recognition and unease. "You have to listen to me," she called, voice resolute. "The Syndicate is not what you think. They're my family too." The cafe fell silent. Waiters paused. Patrons held their breath. Shock rippled through the crowd like a live wire. Emma felt the air thicken, the weight of revelation pressing down on her. Family? But how? Amir's face twisted, disbelief evident. "What are you saying?" "I was taken in by them, Amir. They're planning." Esther's voice faltered, her eyes darting about, gauging the crowd as if they were all listening. "It's not just about you anymore. They know about her." A chill snaked down Emma's spine. Every word struck like a hammer. "Me? Why does it always come back to me?" she whispered, heart racing. The threads of her life were starting to unravel, and she felt lost in the chaos. "You're in danger," Esther shouted, moving closer, intensity radiating from her. "They want power, and you're the key somehow. It's always been about you from the start." Emma felt everything tilt, confusion racking her. "I'm just a waitress," she exclaimed, voice breaking. "I didn't ask for any of this." Yasmin laughed, a harsh echo in the tense room. "Oh, sweet girl, don't underestimate your place in this. The Syndicate has eyes everywhere, and you've been chosen." "Chosen?" Emma repeated, incredulous. "For what?" Just then, a loud crash shattered the air. An explosion of glass and smoke erupted from outside. Screams pierced the air, shockwaves of terror rippling through the crowd. A black SUV rolled to a stop, tires screeching. Agents in dark suits pouring out, weapons drawn. The Syndicate. Amir's breath came out in a ragged gasp. "They found us." Time seemed to freeze. The storm that had been brewing exploded into absolute chaos. Emma felt bile knot in her throat. The floor beneath her shifted, reality spiraling into madness. Amid the raging chaos, a familiar weight pressed against her wrist. A pendant she always wore, the one her mother had given her, said to protect her. What did it mean now? Questions spun in her mind like a vortex. What did she really mean to them? Was she part of this web of darkness? Before she could grab hold of the panic, the door swung open again, and a figure appeared, cloaked in shadows, eyes glinting with intent. "Let's finish what we started," they whispered, and the air turned electric. What truth lay beneath their words? How entwined were their fates? Emma's breath hitched, every heartbeat pounding louder than the chaos around her. The feeling of dread intensified. This was just the beginning. Emma's heart raced as the figure stepped into the cafe, cloaked in shadows and wielding an aura of danger. The room held its breath, the air thick with dread. Amir's eyes widened, recognition flashing across his features, a mix of fear and defiance. "Let's finish what we started," the figure whispered, voice low and menacing, sending chills down Emma's spine. Suddenly, the mirror surged forward, stepping protectively in front of Emma. "You're not welcome here," he growled, fists clenched, eyes ablaze. But the figure shrugged off Amir's challenge with a smug grin. "Amir, you really don't understand, do you? We're all tangled in this web. You think you can protect her? The Syndicate can reach into every corner of your world, and there's no hiding from them." Emma's breath hitched. Every word was a whip, cracking against the tension in the air. She felt raw, exposed. "Who are you?" she managed to croak out. "Ah, but you know me, sweetheart," the figure replied, stepping into the light. The moment he emerged from the shadows, the cafe felt like it spun off its axis. Emma's stomach dropped. Her world turned upside down. It was David, her childhood best friend, the one who had vanished without a trace years ago. Poof, gone. He stood there, looking every bit the handsome devil she remembered, but with an edge that chilled her. David, she breathed, the name tumbling from her lips like an incantation. Shock rippled through the crowd, gasps mingled with disbelief. Surprise. David smirked, a glint of something dark in his eyes. You all thought I ran off because of the Syndicate, but I was part of it. And now, I've got news. No, it couldn't be. The boy with dreams of escape had become a man wrapped in this dangerous circle. Emma, listen to me, he said, a hint of pleading seeping into his tone. What you stumbled into goes deeper than either of us realized. They've been watching you, even before I did. What do you mean before? Emma's voice trembled. What do you know? And just like that, David reached into his pocket, pulling out a small, ornate box. I think you deserve to know the truth. His fingers trembled as he opened it. A swirl of lights shimmered inside, revealing a necklace, intricate and beautiful. But the energy pulsing from it was dark. This belonged to your mother, Emma. It connects you to the Syndicate in a way I never understood until it was too late. Emma felt the floor shift beneath her. What was happening? She'd grown up hearing stories about her mother, stories filled with strength and love. But this? The Syndicate? Amir's eyes flicked from David to Emma, confusion etched on his face like a storm brewing. What do you mean it connects her? That's the twist, Amir, David replied slowly, each word like a lick, eyes scanning the room with ruthless precision. Now? They're here? Yasmin shouted, her voice crackling, but panic flickered in her eyes. Everyone froze, caught in the crossfire of revelations and impending danger. David's stance shifted. We have to get out, now. But before they could move, the lights flickered, dimmed, and then swallowed into darkness. The sound of chaos erupted, shouts mingling with gunfire outside. It was a full-on assault, lines drawn, danger erupting all around them. Emma felt her heart pounding in her ears. Everything she thought she knew was collapsing like a house of cards. Get the necklace, David shouted over the chaos. They want it, and they want you. Amir's gaze locked onto Emma. We can't trust him. He's with them. But was he? The truth twisted around like shadows, and fear clawed at her chest. Before she could respond, a blinding light flooded the room, and everything exploded into a terrifying whirlwind. As the smoke cleared, one thought resonated. What truth lay beneath everything she thought she knew? What ancient battle had she unwittingly stepped into, and where would it lead them all? The air was thick with confusion and chaos. Emma's heart raced like a trapped bird, each beat echoing the cries around her. David, she whispered, her voice trembling with disbelief. The boy who had vanished, now standing here. How was this possible? But there was no time to process. The agents had entered, powerful and poised, scanning the room. With prying eyes, Emma felt exposed under their scrutinizing gaze. Amir clenched his fists tighter. We have to go, he shouted. But before they could move, the lights flickered again, growing dimmer until darkness enveloped them. Then a sharp crack rang out, splintering the tension. A scream echoed, cutting through the chaos. Emma's heart dropped. She wasn't prepared for whatever would come next. The figure had shifted closer, now just feet away. It won't stop until they find what they want, David said, urgency tinging his tone. And in this darkness, it's far worse than any of us could have imagined. Suddenly the lights burst back on, illuminating the cafe in a harsh glare. Everyone froze, still processing the urgency when a loud bang exploded from behind the counter. The barista, once a mere background figure, now stood with a gun, eyes wild. Get away from her, he shouted, a sudden twist that nobody saw coming. Emma staggered back, shock washing over her. Wait, please, it's not what you think. But it was too late. The barista's hands shook, the gun aimed directly at David. "You think you can just come back here after what you did?" Silence fell like a brick. David stared, hurt flashing in his eyes as recognition dawned, heavier and sharper than knife's edge. "No, Jordan, you don't understand," he pleaded, raising his hands. "I didn't choose this." Jordan's voice, tinged with rage, cracked like thunder. "You betrayed us all." The cafe erupted again. Customers ducked for cover, frantic whispers swirling like wind. Amir surged forward, but Emma grabbed his arm. "No, don't. He's telling the truth. He's not our enemy." "Emma," Amir snapped, but there was something in David's eyes, something desperate and pleading that made her heart twist. Before anyone could react, David lunged forward, and just as he did, Jordan's finger tightened on the trigger. The sound of a gunshot echoed like the splitting of worlds. Time slowed. Emma froze, eyes wide, as David crumpled to the ground, clutching his side. The cafe erupted into panic. Someone shouted, chairs clattered, and patrons swarmed toward the exits. But miraculously, David managed to turn, eyes locking onto Emma's. "It's not over," he gasped, blood seeping between his fingers. But a faint smile flickered on his lips. "You have to find the truth about your mother and about who you really are." "I don't understand," Emma cried, panic rising like a tide. "What do you mean?" "Trust no one," were his last words, faint breaths escaping as darkness closed in around him. Emma's world shattered in that moment. Everything she thought she knew, slipping like sand through her fingers. The weight of his revelation, of his sacrifice, hung heavy in the air. She turned. The agents were closing in, a swarming tide of dark suits and glinting badges. They moved with precision, eyes sharp and unyielding. "Get her," one shouted, hands outstretched. But in that massive swell of chaos, it felt like they were moving in slow motion. "Run!" Amir shouted, pulling Emma toward the back entrance. Every part of her screamed to stay with David, to help, but she knew better. The truth was all around her now, a whirlwind of danger and revelations. As they burst through the door, escaping the chaos, Emma felt a familiarity pull her back, a flicker of hope dimly lighting the path before her. She glanced back one last time. David's solemn face burned into her memory, but a single question rattled in her mind. What truth had he meant? What was she really part of? And as the world blurred and reality spun, she felt the darkness close in around her, making her question everything. What awaited her beyond this moment? Emma could barely breathe, her heart pounding in her ears. She felt Amir's grip tighten around her wrist as they stumbled out of the cafe, escaping the chaos. The sunlight sliced through the dust in the air, but it felt cold. Everything spun in frantic confusion. The gunshot, David collapsing, the agents storming in. No, she couldn't process it. David's words ricocheted in her mind, a painful echo. "You have to find the truth about your mother, and about who you really are. What do we do?" Amir's voice was urgent, snapping her back to the moment. He pulled her toward an alleyway, hidden from the frantic streets. Her mind was a whirlwind, skimming over the images of the cafe, the blood, and David's desperate face. "Emma, we can't stop," Amir urged, looking back toward the sound of chaos. He was right. They had to keep moving. Where do we go?" Her voice was shaky, every word weighted by fear. Would the Syndicate come after her? After him? But just as they turned the corner, a terrible roar echoed through the air. Their eyes widened in sync. A sleek black vehicle barreled down the alley, tires screeching. "No," Emma shouted, yanking Amir back. But it was too late. The vehicle skidded to a stop, and the doors flung open. Dark-suited figures poured out, eyes sharp and hungry. "Get inside," one shouted, urgency in his tone as he pointed at Amir. "Now!" Amir hesitated, fury flashing in his gaze. "I'm not going anywhere with you." "You don't understand," the man insisted, voice slicing through the tension. "It's not safe. We need to move." Emma stood frozen, caught in a storm of emotions. "Trust this stranger." But she felt Amir's hand slip from hers, moving toward the approaching figures. She couldn't lose him again. Wait! Before she could grasp his wrist, the world erupted into chaos. The black vehicle exploded. A fiery blast that lit up the alley. The force knocked them both backward, Emma's body slamming against the wall as pain radiated through her. Distorted voices screamed in confusion, darkness quickly enveloping them. Then, an unexpected voice sliced through. Emma! It was David's voice, but she couldn't see him. Everything was still smoke and fire. Get out now, David, she called, searching through the haze. But her heart dropped when she heard Amir scream. Amir! Flashes of chaos blended together. She pushed through the smoke, frantic. The scene opened before her, revealing a sickening display. Amir was surrounded, agents scrambling to contain the chaos. But something else caught her eye. In the blur of smoke, she glimpsed a woman, standing taller than the rest, a piercing gaze locked on her. Mother? Emma's voice barely came out as a whisper, the word wrapping around her like a shroud. The moment felt surreal, an impossible entity manifesting from her childhood dreams into horrifying reality. Disbelief coursed through her. What was happening? The woman from the stories dressed in shadows, her presence sinister yet familiar. Emma, she said softly, voice smooth like poison. You've finally come into your own. They don't know who you are yet, but I do. What? Emma staggered back, confusion slamming into her. What do you mean? A chilling smile crept across her mother's face as she stepped closer, eyes glowing with something almost unholy. David wasn't the only one with secrets. Your heritage runs deeper than you know. The Syndicate wants you back. They always have. Emma's heart plummeted. It felt like ice splintering within her. No, you can't mean that. You're not part of them. The smoky figure just laughed softly, a sound that twisted Emma inside. Oh baby, you have no idea. We are all part of this. And soon, you will have to choose a side. Emma's world flipped. Relationships she thought she knew shattered. Was Amir just a pawn in this game? What did her mother want from her? The enormity of the revelation raced through her. You've been lying to me all these years. Suddenly, from the chaos of the alley, a gun went off. Or was it a different sound? Emma's focus snapped back to the unfolding drama. The agents closing in, leaving her with a single haunting question. What legacy had she inherited? And what did it truly mean for the future they would all face? The smoky figure stepped closer, pulling Emma back into her childhood nightmares. That familiar face, twisted with darkness, whispered her name like an unholy chant. Hope and betrayal wrestled within her. Emma, her mother said, eyes glinting, you've finally come into your own. They don't know who you are yet, but I do. What do you mean? Emma's voice quaked, heart racing. All those years of longing, of lost warmth. Was this it? Was her mother really a part of them? But the truth twisted like a knife. You've inherited something powerful. Her mother continued, the words echoing in Emma's ears. The Syndicate wants you back. They always have. No, Emma recoiled, disbelief crashing over her. You can't mean that. You're not part of this. Sweetheart, you've only scratched the surface. It's all interconnected, she said, a smile creeping onto her lips. But before Emma could argue, the alley fell silent. Amir's face twisted in horror. What do you mean back? We need to leave. He was tense, protective. She wanted to scream for him to run, to escape this nightmare. Just then, a loud bang resonated from the street. A car sped toward the alley, tires screeching. Was it an ally, or another threat? Emma's heart leapt. The ground rumbled under their feet, dust swirling in the air like a warning. Then from the chaos, a figure emerged from the vehicle. A tall man in a dark suit, his sharp jaw twitching as he scanned the scene. Emma's breath caught. He looked familiar, and yet he carried something terrifying about him. You have to come with me, he shouted, eyes darting to Amir. Now. The urgency cut through the tension, but Amir shook his head. I'm not going anywhere with you, not after this. Emma, you don't understand, the man in the suit insisted, reaching for her. It's not safe here. The Syndicate knows your name. They're coming for you. The reality of those words, sank in like stones in her stomach. Amir's grip tightened around her. They're lying. We can't trust him. Am I lying? The man's voice sharpened, revealing a glimmer of panic. You need to know the truth about why they took me. Emma staggered back, reality splintering. Took you? What are you talking about? No time. The man pushed forward, panic etched across his features. You're not safe. We can help you, but you have to listen. Suddenly, everything around them shifted. A deafening explosion ripped through the alley. The black vehicle erupted into flames, a fireball momentarily lighting the scene. Emma clutched Amir's arm, her scream lost in the chaos. She stumbled backward, gasping. The flames soared, casting nightmarish shadows over the terrified crowd. We have to go, the man shouted, but Emma couldn't move. Then right there, amid the chaos, she caught sight of a pendant around his neck, a swirling symbol, almost identical to the one she wore. Before she could process it, everything clicked into place. No, it can't be. The words slipped past her lips like a whispered prayer. She looked up. The man's eyes reflected the same stormy intensity as her own. Recognition dawned, crashing over her like a wave. You're my brother? Amir's eyes widened as the truth crashed down like thunder. What? How do you know him? But before she could answer, before she could comprehend the devastation brewing in her heart, another figure appeared at the end of the alley, a woman, cloaked in shadows, her hair wild like a tempest, locking eyes with Emma. Emma, I didn't realize they'd found you first. The woman stepped closer, her presence electrifying. Mother, Emma whispered, a lump forming in her throat. Enough games, Clara, her brother snapped. You've already put her in danger. The mother, Clara, looked between them, her face a mixture of pride and fear. I had to protect you. You're the key to everything, Emma. Emma spat the words like poison. You think I want any part of this? Just then, the air thickened. Painful tension wrapped around them. The agents were regrouping, weapons drawn. The truth hung like an unspeakable weight. Emma stood frozen, caught between the burning questions and the fiery chaos. What legacy had they hidden from her? Who could she trust in this whirlwind of deception? The choice loomed like a dark shadow. What path would she take? And as the agents closed in, the questions festered. What did this family truly mean to her? What was her true destiny? The smoky figure stepped closer, pulling Emma back into her childhood nightmares. That familiar face, twisted with darkness, whispered her name like an unholy chant. Hope and betrayal wrestled within her. Emma, her mother said, eyes glinting. You've finally come into your own. They don't know who you are yet, but I do. What do you mean? Emma's voice quaked, heart racing. All those years of longing, of lost warmth? Was this it? Was her mother really a part of them? But the truth twisted like a knife. You've inherited something powerful, her mother continued, the words echoing in Emma's ears. The Syndicate wants you back. They always have. No, Emma recoiled, disbelief crashing over her. You can't mean that you're not part of this? Sweetheart, you've only scratched the surface. It's all interconnected, she said, a smile creeping onto her lips. But before Emma could argue, the alley fell silent. Amir's face twisted in horror. What do you mean back? We need to leave. He was tense, protective. She wanted to scream for him to run, to escape this nightmare. Just then, a loud bang resonated from the street. A car sped toward the alley, tires screeching. Was it an ally or another threat? Emma's heart leapt. The ground rumbled under their feet, dust swirling in the air like a warning. Then, from the chaos, a figure emerged from the vehicle. A tall man in a dark suit, his sharp jaw twitching as he scanned the scene. Emma's breath caught. He looked familiar, and yet he carried something terrifying about him. You have to come with me, he shouted, eyes darting to Amir. Now! The urgency cut through the tension, but Amir shook his head. I'm not going anywhere with you, not after this. Emma, you don't understand, the man insisted, reaching for her. It's not safe here. The Syndicate knows your name. They're coming for you. The reality of those words sank in, like stones in her stomach. Amir's grip tightened around her. They're lying. We can't trust him. Am I lying? The man's voice sharpened, revealing a glimmer of panic. You need to know the truth about why they took me. Emma staggered back, reality splintering. Took you? What are you talking about? No time. The man pushed forward, panic etched across his features. You're not safe. We can help you, but you have to listen. Suddenly, everything around them shifted. A deafening explosion ripped through the alley. The black vehicle erupted into flames, a fireball momentarily lighting the scene. Emma clutched Amir's arm, her scream lost in the chaos. She stumbled backward, gasping. The flames soared, casting nightmarish shadows over the terrified crowd. We have to go, the man shouted. But Emma couldn't move. Then, right there, amid the chaos, she caught sight of a pendant around his neck, a swirling symbol, almost identical to the one she wore. Before she could process it, everything clicked into place. No, it can't be. The words slipped past her lips like a whispered prayer. She looked up. The man's eyes reflected the same stormy intensity as her own. Recognition dawned, crashing over her like a wave. You're my brother? Amir's eyes widened as the truth crashed down like thunder. What? How do you know him? But before she could answer, before she could comprehend the devastation brewing in her heart, another figure appeared at the end of the alley. A woman, cloaked in shadows, her hair wild like a tempest, locking eyes with Emma. Emma, I didn't realize they'd found you first. The woman stepped closer, her presence electrifying. Mother, Emma whispered, a lump forming in her throat. Enough games, Clara, her brother snapped. You've already put her in danger. The mother, Clara, looked between them, her face a mixture of pride and fear. I had to protect you. You're the key to everything, Emma. Emma spat the words like poison. You think I want any part of this? Just then, the air thickened. Painful tension wrapped around them. The agents were regrouping, weapons drawn. The truth hung like an unspeakable weight. Emma stood frozen, caught between the burning questions and the fiery chaos. What legacy had they hidden from her? Who could she trust in this whirlwind of deception? Suddenly, a blinding light swept through the alley. A group of agents stepped forward. A heavy-set woman at the front, a commanding presence draped in authority. Get down, she barked, and everything erupted into madness. Gunfire cracked, and a heavy thud shook the ground. The woman threw something, a flashbang grenade. Light and sound piqued the chaos into a frenzy. Every single person startled into instinctive protectiveness. No, Emma shouted, instinctively trying to shield Amir, but it was too late. The world around her turned white as the blast washed over everything. She stumbled, heart racing, unable to see anything, disoriented. What was happening? Confusion and terror coursed through her, blurring everything in darkness. Then, just as quickly, the light faded and silence fell. As her vision cleared, she realized she was standing alone. Amir was gone. Her brother was gone. Clara stood there, but her eyes were transfixed on the crowd gathering. Where are they? Emma's voice was barely a whisper. Clara looked at her, eyes filled with something dangerous, and leaned in close. It's not just about them anymore. They've learned about our family's history. They want you for a reason much bigger than you know. What do you mean? Emma felt her heart racing as she searched her mother's gaze. Clara smiled. But it didn't reach her eyes. There are things in our bloodline that should remain hidden, Emma. Things more powerful than we'll ever understand. As the pieces scattered around her, realization hit like a punch. Potential lost in shadows, secrets wrapped in darkness. Everything, Emma. Everything is about to change. You'll have to choose now. And trust me, the truth is always more dangerous than the lie. With her mother's words hanging thick in the air, uncertainty tightened around Emma like chains. What did that mean for her? What truth awaited her in the storm brewing? She felt panic rise, a tide threatening to pull her under, and knew in her gut this was just the beginning. Emma stood frozen in the chaos, her heart pounding in her chest like a drum. Clara's silhouette loomed before her, a blend of shadows and light, each word steeped in the bittersweet strain of their shared history. "They're here for you," she said, voice low, filled with an urgency that made the hairs on Emma's arms stand on end. "Do you even care what it means?" Emma's voice trembled. "You've been hiding everything from me." The darkened alley was alive with chaos, muffled cries echoing. The footsteps of agents closed in, their faces grim as they navigated the smoke. Clara stepped forward, determination written across her features. "You don't understand. It's about survival. They want a legacy, and you're the key." Every word felt like a knife, twisting deeper into her. "Survival? You mean destruction?" Emma shouted, anger boiling over. "You've played with people's lives." "No, I did what I had to." Clara's voice cracked, a glimmer of pain flickering in her fierce gaze. The weight of years pressed down heavily on both of them, and each breath felt like a battle. At that moment, Amir reappeared, eyes wide with shock. "Emma, we have to go now." He tugged at her arm, breathing heavily, the fire and smoke pushing them together in urgency. But something held her back. The weight of Clara's gaze, the connection that still flickered between them. "What if I don't want to be part of this legacy?" Emma whispered, vulnerability spilling from her heart like ink on paper. "Then you'll have to fight, Emma. Fight for yourself." Clara's eyes softened, glistening with a mixture of pride and fear. It was a mother's plea wrapped in shadows. The tension was palpable, heavy like a storm. Gunfire erupted down the alley, shots echoing through the cramped space. Emma felt the pulse of adrenaline rush through her, every instinct screaming at her to run. "What do I do?" "Listen to your heart," Amir said, his voice low but steady. "We don't have to follow what they want for us. We can make our own path." His fingers entwined with hers, offering a flicker of strength. And just like that, something clicked. Emma took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her mother's history pushing against her. "I choose my own destiny," she declared. "Then let's go," Amir shouted, a fierce grin spreading across his face. And together with Clara, they dashed toward the street, hearts racing like thunder. Outside, the world was in chaos. Sirens wailed, and the sky was smeared with smoke. But Emma could feel the weight lifting. For the first time, it was her choice. They plunged through the crowd, weaving between panic and confusion, the figures around them mere shadows. Then, suddenly, the agents appeared, faces stern and determined. "Stop!" one shouted. But Emma didn't falter. Her body surged forward, dragging Amir with her. In a heartbeat, they burst through the outer wall of confrontation, a symbol of breaking free from chains. Emma turned back to see Clara standing against the tide, a resolute silhouette that flickered in the distance. "Fight for what's right," Clara called, and though her voice was distant, it ignited something inside Emma. A fire, a determination. With their hearts racing, Emma and Amir raced toward the parked vehicle, adrenaline propelling them. The driver, a familiar face from the past, David's trusted ally, rushed them inside. "We have to move now." As they sped away, the sounds of chaos faded behind them, leaving only the echoes of choice ringing in Emma's ears. "I won't let fear dictate my life," she declared, locking eyes with Amir, who nodded, that fiery resolve mirrored in his gaze. And as the city's lights twinkled like stars against the horizon, Emma knew that the world ahead was uncertain, but it was theirs to redefine. No more shadows, no more hiding. Together, they would create their own legacy. A spark ignited within her. The dawn of a new chapter. Emma squeezed Amir's hand tightly, the warmth a solid promise. "Wait, before you go, I need you to listen up. You have to subscribe right now to the channel so you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories that are coming your way. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm. We can't do this without your support. And let me know what you thought about the ending in the comments below. Flood that comment section with your theories and revelations. You have to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second.